Hi everyone, my name is Saniya, and as he said, I do research and writing at Taiko. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about based rollups, the backbone of the Ethereum Network Effect. So we're going to cover a lot of stuff today, from the challenges of scaling Ethereum all the way to the way forward. So let's start with the challenges of scaling Ethereum. This is a diagram that a lot of you guys must be familiar with, the blockchain trilemma. So this refers to the trade-off between three critical aspects of blockchain networks: security, scalability, and decentralization. Security refers to the fact that blockchain networks must have robust defenses in place in order to prevent malicious entities from taking over. Scalability refers to how blockchains must be able to accommodate a high number of users without increasing, as well as transactions without increasing fees or transaction times significantly. And decentralization, of course, refers to how blockchain control should be distributed amongst all of its members instead of just being concentrated in a single entity. So developers often end up having to sacrifice one of these aspects to improve the other two. And there's no question that Ethereum is slow. As the number of Ethereum users continues to grow at a staggering rate, a sort of bottleneck of transactions is being created. Transaction speeds are slowing down and gas prices are increasing. This, of course, makes it difficult to scale Ethereum. So where do we go from here? This is where based rollups and based validators come in. So based rollups, the term first appeared in a research post written by Justin Drake titled Based Rollups Superpowers from L1 Sequencing. So if you take a look at the definition, a rollup is said to be based or L1 sequenced when its sequencing is driven by the base L1. More concretely, a based rollup is one where the next L1 proposer may, in collaboration with L1 searchers and builders, permissionlessly include the next rollup block as part of the next L1 block. So I just word vomited a ton at you guys. So let's try to understand what exactly this means. Essentially, this means that there's no sequencers that are deciding the order of blocks. So a rollup block can be created at any time, at any rollup time, and so this ensures that the system is decentralized. So anybody can propose any rollup block at any rollup time. So to better understand based rollups, I'm going to introduce you guys to my 12-year-old rescue, Juna. So Juna, like many dogs, loves to chase things. So if you threw her favorite ball at her, she would go run after it very happily and return it back to you. So let's try to apply this to based rollups. So let's imagine that there are two types of fetch that you can play with Juna: traditional fetch and based fetch. In traditional fetch, which is similar to sequencer-led rollups, there's a person, let's call them the sequencer, who decides when Juna can chase the ball. The sequencer determines the game's pace. So they decide the frequency at which the ball is thrown, how often the ball is thrown, and as well as the distance or the time between each throw. They can also decide who gets to throw the ball. So because they have total power, the sequencer can play favorites or delay the game for their own benefit. On the other hand, there's based fetch, which is similar to based rollups. So in this game of fetch, there's no sequencer. Anybody in the park can throw the ball for Juna. There's no single person controlling the game, meaning it's decentralized. And anybody can propose the next action, which is throwing the ball, without having any special privileges. So with based rollups, just like in our based fetch game, there's less risk of someone manipulating the game for their own benefit, like the sequencer. The game stays open and inclusive, just like anybody can join and participate in based rollups. And importantly, the fun and the network effects of the game remain. So Juna can still get to enjoy fetching her ball, just like how based rollups still get to benefit off the effects of the Ethereum network. So let's talk about some of the benefits of based rollups. they're decentralized as layer 1 validators. This means there's no sequencer, no external consensus, no escape hatch, no single point of failure. There's liveness. They're as live as the Ethereum beacon chain. There's credible neutrality. No doubt about decentralization, censoring power, or MEV extraction. Based rollups allow building custom sequenced apps like order books, and they're the most Ethereum aligned. Let's really quickly touch on the economics of based rollups. So in general, when it comes to MEV, there are 3 types. There's congestion fees, which currently on Ethereum account for 80% of fees, and these happen on layer 2. There's front-running or toxic MEV, what a lot of you may know as sandwich attacks. And then there's arbitrage, which refers to a difference in price, for example, between ETH and USDC. So essentially, you're accumulating less fees, but you're keeping the congestion fees. So the economic security of based rollups depends on ETH and not on the rollup token. There's a lot of teams that are working on this, like Espresso, Ethereum Foundation, Flashbots, Nethermind, and Taiko, of course. We actually did a Twitter space on this topic in October last year, so if you guys are interested in learning more, you should definitely check it out. So it seems like based rollups are a really awesome solution. And they are, but like a lot of solutions in crypto, they're not perfect. So let's talk a little bit about what's missing when it comes to based rollups. So right now, there's no market to pick sequencers among layer 1 validators. There's no way for sequencers to commit to integrating a layer 2 block before a deadline, which is pre-confirmation. There are a few things that require a hard fork, like Pepsi and ePBS. And then there's a few things that don't require a hard fork, like restaking and PBS or MEV boosts. So some of this stuff can be built right now, but it won't have the credible neutrality and the censorship resistance, even though the technical challenge would be solved. So for example, in the case of pre-confirmations, we would need to have 1 out of 32 proposers to be pre-confirmers, because you have 32 blocks for every epoch, and it takes 12 seconds to produce a block. So waiting up to 30 seconds is fine. Otherwise, you might as well just not have a timeline. So in the case of Taiko specifically, we would even need ideally 1/3 of validators to opt into pre-confirming Taiko blocks. The issue with this is if you want to have 1/3, we would need to see big staking pools like Lido and Coinbase participate. And this would effectively make us centralized. But it is a trade-off. It's a transition period because we cannot get to ideal immediately. So far, these transition periods, I feel, have been managed pretty well on Ethereum. For example, with the launch of the beacon chain, in parallel with execution, proto-dank sharding while waiting for full dank sharding. I think there's been a lot of good examples of Ethereum managing these transition periods well. But of course, you're always going to be thinking about pragmatism versus idealism. Building these things is hard, and it takes time. It requires a great deal of validation, review, audits. And so we know that we're not going to get to the ideal solution right away. But we do believe that it's the most Ethereum-aligned way forward for scaling. So what is the way forward? So Taiko's endgame is to build something called based booster rollups. Essentially, based booster rollups will shard the execution of transactions and the storage. Thus, any rollup, whether it's optimistic or ZK, can be boosted. This adds Ethereum scaling by allowing layer 1 validators to propose blocks for the whole boosted network. With based rollups, you don't risk losing the network effects that you've already built. So this brings me to the end of my talk. We have a lot of stuff happening at Taiko. If you want to learn more about the products that we're building, definitely check out taiko.xyz. You should also join our Discord server. We actually recently surpassed 1 million users, so we'd love to have you be a part of the community. And definitely also follow us on Twitter. We're launching on mainnet this year, so keep an eye out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saniya. We have time for a couple